it's so stupid. Bye-bye. Hi guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be rebuilding the cylinder head for the Volvo. Again. So, why am I rebuilding the cylinder head again? Now, I could tell you the truth, or I could lie about it. The lie would be that I've gone and bought these, which are stiffer valve springs, which is kind of the truth because I actually have. And that does mean I've got to strip the head back down so I can fit these. But the truth is, even if I hadn't bought those stiffer valve springs, I would have still had to have stripped down the head because I made one glaringly obvious mistake when I built it. So, as I mentioned before, I am planning on running some reground cams. So Piper have reground a standard cam to make the profile actually smaller but give more lift. So the way that they do that is they take material off the bottom of the cam lobe and leave it at the top. So when I measure a standard cam, it's actually 3mm wider than my regrind. So the base circle has been reduced by 3mm in diameter, which if I half that to give me the radius means 1.5mm. So in theory, all of the shims that I need to get should be 1.5mm. So what I did is I cut a disc of stainless steel 1.5mm thick, and I popped it in the bottom of one of the lifters, in there like so, and then I popped it in the head on the exhaust valve side, and I was expecting to see around 0.4mm worth of clearance between the top of the lifter and the bottom of the cam lobe, which is the factory specification for this engine. However, I was still getting about 1.35mm clearance, and it's as if my valves were slightly shorter than they should have been. I then spent over an hour, because it was quite fiddly, measuring the clearance on each one of these exhaust valves, and I was getting similar results. 1.27, 1.35, 1.3, they were all kind of roughly the same. And then I flipped it over to the intake side. Surprise, surprise, it was as if my intake valves had got longer, because even without this spacer and using the smallest lifter, there was still compression on the valve when the cam was fully seated, which is clearly not right. And as soon as I saw that, I knew exactly what I had done. I flipped the head over. I'm almost too embarrassed to say this, but I will, because it's so stupid that I've got to share it with you guys. Basically, I put the intake valves in the exhaust side of the head. All the time building the head last week, and the hour and a half measuring all the clearances completely wasted. But good news is I would have had to have taken it apart anyway to fit these, which is what I'm doing tonight. This is what we're talking about here. So this is an intake valve, which is slightly larger than the exhaust valve. So if I pop that out, these are in the right place now, by the way, and take the exhaust valve out, pop the exhaust valve into there, you can see this exhaust valve is sat in compared to this one next to it, and then put the intake valve in. You can see this does not sit properly and it sticks out quite a bit. So it made it seem as if my intake valves were longer and my exhaust valves were shorter. So basically that's what had happened, and because I never turned the head over, I never saw that until I'd figured out that was the problem when I was coming to measure them. So yeah, definitely don't do that, because you can waste a lot of time. So I'm going to flip this over and start putting in the new valve springs. So there we go. All the valve springs are in, the new retainers and the existing collets. So yeah, putting that together was not fun. I can confirm these springs are much stiffer, because obviously using the valve spring compressor, got to put a bit of force in there to compress them. The original ones were very easy. I even thought when I did it, it was quite easy. This time with the new valve springs, yeah, it hurt my hand quite a bit, and there was quite a lot of force to try and get them to compress, but got there in the end. And I guess that is probably why Jamie welded a spanner to the end of the lever to get a bit more leverage on it. So yeah, thanks for that, Jamie. Yeah, anyway, on to the next step. That flame. Oh yeah, do that again.
What? No hard cut?
No, not indoors. It's fucking loud enough outside. So the car is in the unit and we are just about to pull the engine ready for the new one, which we have pretty much finished building. But there's a few more things that we want to do to the car. So the driver's seat needs to go down on some proper seat rails. I want to refresh the front and rear suspension on it. Obviously it's got brand new coilovers already on it. I also want to change the power steering pump to a electro-hydraulic unit, and a few other things like change the dash for a black one, get rid of the grey beige stuff. Grandad. But yeah, let's crack into it.
Bye. And it's just hung by the mount on that side and that side there, so the top two mounts. I've skipped on a little bit because the battery on the camera went flat and my hands were absolutely grubby, so I didn't want to change the battery. So you see me do this anyway. This took a little bit longer actually than the standard Volvo, despite it having less on it. It was kind of more, because you can see all the crap that I've got in here, like the fuel pressure regulator. I've got oil coolers and stuff like that. So, and obviously the big turbo with the external wastegate. So a little bit more to take apart. That, as well as this, is absolutely covered in oil. So if you look in there, you can see loads of oil. Basically the crankcase pressure is so bad, that's why I've got a zip tie on here, and I don't know why, but perhaps I didn't do it up tight enough, but the oil cap was a little bit loose and it sprayed oil everywhere, which is why it's all on the underside of the bonnet as well. So this will be coming out very soon. I'm going to be taking the engine out the bottom because I've still got the drive shafts attached to the gearbox. Otherwise it could come out the top relatively easy, but because I'm going to be using the forklift and I am underneath the mezzanine, I can't get the forks in above it to lift it like I could if I were out here. So I can get underneath the front of the car, lift the car up, drop the engine out the bottom. Job's a good one. So there we are. Engine is pretty much much out. All I've got to do is lift up the front of the car and drag that thing out of there. Oh, there we go. The bastard thing's out. That wasn't particularly fun. Thank goodness for really tall axle stands. Might look precarious, probably because it's sketchy as fuck, but engine's out and that's how we do it around here. I suppose all I've got to do with this is whip the rods out because they're the only thing that's salvageable out of this really. Maybe a few other things obviously. The turbo's still good, but little secret, I've got a new one of those and it is just over there behind the camera. Have a guess what turbo I'm putting on this. Pause the video now. The current one on there is a Holset HX40. It's massive, but yeah, the only reason why I ran this one is because it was free and I already had it. If you haven't watched that video, there'll be a link up here somewhere. So yeah, pause the video, in the comments below, which turbo do you think I'm going to be running on the new engine? If you're right, you might win yourself probably nothing, to be honest. Anyway, I'm going to crack on, tidy up this mess, and then get this in the bin. Right, so engine is out of the car. We are another day now, so Paul has joined me. We're going to strip this engine.
Yep.
Keep the head, take the rods out, and bottom end goes in the skip. At the same time, we're going to try and strip some of this crap out of here. Believe it or not, this still had air conditioning fitted to it. It didn't work, but it was still in the car. But I've never taken it out because the pipes run everywhere. So all along the bulkhead there, around the side of the car, around the front, obviously you've got this big air conditioning radiator here as well, and the pumps and stuff like that. So that's all coming out, and generally just tidy the thing up. So we can crack on with that, and I will come back for an update in a minute. So there we go. That is the head off, and just having a quick look at the pistons here. These marks that you can see here are where I've had piston to valve contact in the past and I smoothed them off. Here you can see I was running shims in 0.7mm feeler gauges, just hammered in there nice and tight, close up those gaps. But other than that, everything seems to be in order. If I just pull this round, let's have a look at the bores. There might be a little bit of a score mark in that. Oh, there is a score mark in that, and I can feel it with my thumb through a glove, so that's not ideal. So it's obviously had something in there, which might be why there's another score mark there. Might be why this engine was breathing quite heavily. So I'll be interested to see the condition of the rings when they come out. So the sump is off, and in here you can see there's absolutely loads in the pickup. This is all the sealant which goes round the pan. All these little bits have come off in the past. I must have just put a bit too much in there. Can't get it now, but there's quite a lot in there, which probably wasn't doing it much good, but it made quite good oil pressure, I'll be honest. So yeah, not ideal. Just about to pull out the rods. We'll see what the condition of the big end bearings are like, and then pistons out the top. Okay, so we've got the pistons and rods out of the engine, and the condition of the bearings are absolutely perfect. There's nothing wrong with them, no scoring on there. They look virtually new, and bearing in mind I did actually install these rods in 2016, and I've done a number of track days on it, and it's made 415 horsepower on the dyno, and the last time I drove it, it made over 2.5 bar of boost. But the reason why I'm replacing the engine and building a new one is because it started breathing a little bit heavily. You can see every bearing is perfect. So these rods are good to go. There's nothing wrong with them. However, I was looking at these closely, and this piston, number 1 piston, nothing wrong with that one, that's fine, but there was scoring on some of these ones, so I was having a good look at them. That one is also okay, there's a few marks on there. I get to this one here, you can see the cracked piston, so there and there, big crack in the piston there, and there's some heavy scoring on this face here, which is probably why there were some score marks in the cylinder. And then this one here as well, somewhere, yeah, there we go, another crack, just about to see that there, crack there, and there's another one there. So yeah, these pistons are scrapped. There's no detonation marks on the top, so they were absolutely fine. Fueling wise, pistons good for the bin. Rods are up for sale, so if you fancy some rods for your S40 or V40, let me know. These will be up for sale soon. Don't have a price in mind at the minute, probably around 250 quid. Yeah, just message me. I've actually got 5 of these because I had to buy a set for a T5, so if you've got T5 as well, let me know. I've got a full set of 5, but if you've got a T4, obviously just run 4 of them.
This is gone.
Bye bye. Yeah. So there we go, the old engine is no more, it's now in the skip where it belongs. So hopefully in the next video you will be seeing the new engine going into the car. Thank you very much to Paul for his help this evening. Yeah, hit me up if you need some forged rods. I'll probably be sticking those on the S and V40 Facebook group, so by the time this video comes out, chances are they've already been sold. Thanks for watching the video. If you've enjoyed the video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already done so, and if you've got any questions, put them down in the comments below. But for now, I'll see you later.